Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another amazing day of Ready Up XPL with myself, Coach Zach, here again. And I know we missed last week. I know. Life happened last week, and also allergies happened. So we're back, and to make it up to you, we got a little bit of a special episode going through each bracket of the end of season playoffs. I believe Zach just got called in at the dojo or something, so I'll keep rambling on for a sec. It will be us going through each of the brackets: the Valorant bracket, the Rocket League bracket, and then the Overwatch bracket, and just giving our thoughts, making some predictions. Obviously, this is not regionals, this is just the normal end of regular season. But it is still pretty fun to kind of go through and predict how these are going to go as we do look ahead into regionals that are less than a month. Those are 3 weeks away for the first round of regionals. That is crazy to think of. 3 weeks from tomorrow. So we'll wait, obviously, for Coach Zach to get back. So yeah, he just got called in. I think he is filming from the dojo like normal. I think he got called in to help. So just gonna hang out here. If you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in chat. We'll try and get to them at the very end. As yeah, we're gonna try and be as unbiased as possible. I know that is hard sometimes, but we are gonna try and be unbiased. Um, as I do think there's some that are gonna be some interesting games. But yeah, welcome back, Zach. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I had
There you
some
go.
some XP League business to tend to, but
There you
all
go.
good.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Just telling them, what the rundown is, and with regionals 3 weeks away, it's a nice little precursor to see where everybody's sitting before the big weekend starts in just a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Valorant is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of crazy talented teams and crazy talented players. So I think it's going to be a great tournament. It's one of the games where I think there's a lot of teams or a couple of teams at the top who are all super competitive with each other. So that's going to make it more fun, I think, than some of the other games where there's one or two teams that kind of stand out above the rest.
Yeah, I do think Valorant is unique in that case to where I would say there's 3 teams that have a shot to win. Like I would
Yeah,
say North OC, Franklin, Madison, they've all been in the conversation for a long time. I don't see any of them leaving the conversation for a long time.
yeah,
So I think, it is very fun because we are gonna have 3 teams that could win.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. That makes it more interesting for sure when there is that high level of competition, and the fact that the bracket was broken up in a way that we're going to get to see some of those teams face off in the semifinals and finals, which is what you really want in any tournament is to see the best of the best play at the very end.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want. So we're gonna go down first round first, and obviously we have a few teams. All the 3 teams that we listed actually have first round buys. You will not see any of them in the first round games. Or with how a schedule's going, rounds 1 and 2 are this weekend. 3 and 4 are, I believe, April 9th. So we'll have to wait and see how those go. But we're gonna go through the entire bracket today. Next week's show, we'll kind of talk about what happened so far, looking ahead. So first game, a play-in to see who gets to play the number 1 seed of the Franco Wolverines, FC Dragons, Triangle Minotaur. Who do you got, Zach?
I think for this one, you just have to go with that top seed. You got to go with the Triangle Minotaur. And I really haven't seen the Dragons play enough to know too much about them, but I know here in Franklin, our team has played Triangle quite a bit, and with Triangle being that XP League, within XP League's HQ right there in Raleigh, they show a lot of their games on stream. So I've gotten to see Triangle play quite a bit, and they have some extremely talented players. So got to go with Triangle Minotaur over the Dragons for that first game.
All right, I have to agree with you. I do think Triangle's just been a little bit more consistent, so we're gonna slide them there. I know you can't see it quite yet. Bang! I know it's off. Okay, before chat has an aneurysm. We're just sliding text in as we go. Okay, so Minotaur win first round. They go on to play Franklin Shogun later that day. But now, second game of that round, Ackworth Valkyrie. I believe that is Brookfield. Sorry, my eyesight is horrendous today. I think it's Ackworth. I think Ackworth is a dark horse team
For
that
sure.
could maybe shake stuff up, and I don't see them losing to Brookfield.
Yeah, I think they probably got unlucky with the bracket draw. I mean, coming in that
Yeah.
upper bracket where you're going to have to face uh, the Wolverines, they're in that semifinals match is unfortunate. But we also know that Ackworth was the only team to take down the Wolverines this season. Of
Yeah.
course, we know that the Wolverines were playing like down like three guys, had a couple of subs in, so not the same match, but they do have that kind of mental edge. I don't know if those players know that they were playing a team, of a lot of subs, so they kind of have that mental edge right now, having the most recent victory over the Wolverines. So after, like you said, they are definitely a dark horse contender to win it all this season. So you definitely got to go with them over the Brookfield Magic, who are one of the newer teams and just haven't really found themselves yet in a spot where they're going to be able to compete, in these end of season tournaments.
Yeah, it's as long as I think for Brookfield, if they're in it for a little bit, maybe if it's a 13-5 or a 13-6, that's good. Like that's good for them because again, they are a newer team at this point. All they want to do is really just gain some experience. So, if they can do that, then they're at least off to a decent start. And yeah, even if you don't win this first game, you're setting yourselves up for a game later down the line. So it will be Ackworth winning that game as a little transition. I know the sizing's off. Okay, one sec. Let me move this. My OCD's even killing me about it. There we go. Next game up. Draper Hydra, Franklin Tsunami. Obviously, okay, I know we talked about that we're gonna try and be unbiased and all that. So I do think Draper's entering the favorites. There's no reason for them not to be entering as the favorites. I do think Tsunami have a chance. We've seen them improve, but I think they still need to show some improvements if they're gonna win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I mean, just from a records perspective, you have to think that Draper is, the upper tier team for this game. However, the Tsunami kind of started to show me something at the end of, their game last week. And just talking to Coach Beck and the guys on the Tsunami after that last game, I know that there's a couple of strategies that they're going to throw in here, a couple of different agents they're planning on running this weekend. Um, so I'm calling for the upset. I'm calling for Franklin
You're
Tsunami.
calling for the upset?
I'm calling for the Franklin Tsunami upset
Wow.
over Draper to face Ackworth in that quarterfinals game.
See,
I think
I am not that risky. I'm not that. I think the Tsunami will improve, and I still think they will play better than they have these last. Hey, they'll continue to improve like they have so far this season, but I don't think it's enough yet. They still have a little bit of work to do for me. So we're gonna have to do two little ones here as be patient with me, everybody. Okay, so that's mine. We'll get Coach Zach's guess here in a second. We'll put him in red. Actually, we'll put you in blue for the storm. Why not? The storm and the stealth are both blue, so we'll make you blue.
perfect.
But I think that is a match that could go a certain way if the Tsunami do show up. But yeah, they do have some improvements to make. I still don't know if this is where we're gonna see them. I think we could see them in regionals, but I don't know if we're gonna see them yet. Here,
Yep.
let me get your color
Yeah,
in
you'd really like
here.
to. If you're a Tsunami fan or a Tsunami player, you really would hope that you get a draw, a little bit better in the brackets. You don't have to face one of these
Yeah,
top five, top six teams. But unfortunately, it comes down to winning games. So if you don't win games during the regular season, then your matchup during the tournament time is going to be kind of rough. So um, it's just the nature of the beast when you only win one game throughout the regular season. You're going to kind of get a tough draw.
yeah,
But this is one that I think they can. I think they can pull out. I think they've started to show some stuff over the last couple of weeks. And I think throwing in some of these new strats, you know, especially using new agents and especially agents where some of these ults and abilities are going to actually like start to play a role in the game. I think it's going to make a difference, and they pull out this win.
All right. Well, that first time we've disagreed so far. I bet we're gonna disagree at least a little bit more as we go on. But yeah, next game, Detroit coming in as the 7 against Matatino, the Cupertino and Madison hybrid team. What are your thoughts going in this? It's the only hybrid team this season for Valorant, so I wonder if that could be an advantage, but also a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to say disadvantage for the most part. I mean, so much of what makes any team great in this season, all the great teams that we've seen from Hanover to the Storm to the Shogun, all these great teams have some level of continuity and coaching, continuity and players. So that said, when you have a team with players from two different locations and splitting coaching time and all this kind of stuff, I just think it's really, really hard to get that team chem right. So I think you got to go with Detroit. Not the best record, obviously, during the regular season, kind of struggled a little bit, but um, going up against a Matatino team where the players all aren't, exactly on that same page, just not in, you know, playing in the same location. Got to go with Detroit in this one.
Yeah, I'm with Detroit as well. As the guys from Detroit, aka I think Macomb also has like a player or two on this team.
Yeah,
They've been getting better, they've been improving, and I think they've just been more consistent other than Matatino. Just because, as you said, a lot of this game is, camaraderie and the fact that, you got a few players in California and you got a few up in Wisconsin. It's hard for them to kind of gel as much as, 5 kids from the same location would. So Detroit moves on for us in that game. We got one more game in the first round. North OC Bravo against Lone Tree. Winner gets to play the Madison Marvels, which you wouldn't have guessed at the beginning of the season they'd be entering as the 3 seed. We'll get to that in a second, but I I think North OC wins this, and I think they're going to use it as a nice little warm up for their A team, or they get to have their A team and B team play against each other later on. But I don't see any North OC team losing this early.
yeah, yeah. I gotta agree. North OC, kind of like Franklin has been with Rocket League. North OC
Yeah,
is kind of the equivalent in terms of Valorant. I mean, they are Valorant City USA in XP League. They have just really solid coaching, really solid players and talent on both their A and B teams. I mean, their B team, clearly not on the same level as that A team, who is just insane. But the North OC team to finish in, at fifth seed shows that this is a B team marginally. I mean,
yeah,
for a lot of teams, this would be their A team. So, yeah, you got to go with North OC in this one for sure.
yeah. I'm with you there. North OC, they're going to be able to do it, and there you go. First round done. Second round is filled up. So now second round. This is when the top seeds come in. So maybe, I guess on paper, maybe a little bit more cut and dry on a few of these games because you have those upper seeds. But we also do have that the Ackworth, I guess, slash Draper Tsunami winner because we couldn't really agree on that one. But
Yeah,
first, Triangle, Franklin Wolverines. I'm not sure how long I need to talk about this one. Wolverines have looked really good. The additions of Remorse, especially of recently, has been really good for them. I don't see it stopping here. If they lose here, I think there's a lot of things to me that need to be looked at, but I don't see that happening. I think Wolverines make it to second weekend.
yeah, I agree. I mean, they are just of all the teams that we see here on a regular basis at XPL Franklin, the Wolverines are one of the locked in teams right now. It seems so. I think, especially with these kind of lower tier competitions, they're just going to steamroll. So I got to go with Wolverines.
Yeah. So Wolverines in the semis, they make it to day 2, and not to day 2, to week 2, I should say, of this playoff. Oh, in April 9th. That is, I think, I need to move that 1 sec. I'm thinking. There we go. We gotta make room for this next game. Ackworth, Draper. or Tsunami? I guess I'll ask you first because you got Tsunami in this game. Do you think Tsunami has what it takes to make it to second weekend? Is it going to be the momentum, or do you think Ackworth stops the train right there?
Yeah, I think this is where, unfortunately, the Cinderella story has to end for Draper and the Tsunami. I think Ackworth is just the better team. Uh, like you said, Tsunami and Draper, to me, that's kind of a toss up. Tsunami coming back strong, um, but Ackworth clearly, I think, is a step better than both of these teams.
Yeah.
And I think they continue on with that dark horse race. They're an unfortunate draw for their next game, but I think this one is an Ackworth victory, pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree. Ackworth, they seem to be getting the tools together at the right point in time. They've really started to get everything the way they needed to in the comms. They've looked more confident, and I think they make it today in week 2 as well. For, as you said, potentially an unfortunate game against the Wolverines. Nobody wants that game right now, especially. But I think Ackworth, I think, as you said, I think they're the only team to beat the Wolverines. Oh, a wounded Wolverines, but
Right.
they have the formula. So that is something to watch out for. As you know, Ackworth, they have been a little bit pain in the side of the Wolverines in the past. Maybe they can pull it off again.
Yep.
Next game, Detroit and North OC. Again, for me, these games, I suppose I shouldn't say these games. I think the next one could be a little bit closer. I don't see North OC losing this. It pains me
Yeah.
to say that because I think Detroit's had a good season. I don't think it's good enough though to beat North OC because there's a reason why they were number 1 for weeks. And I don't see them dropping from top 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Got to say, I agree. I think when it comes down to it, there's really kind of an upper echelon in all of the XP League games. And in Valorant, especially, North OC have proven themselves, especially this A team, to be, in that upper echelon. And Detroit are still kind of on that bubble. So I think for now, North OC is the team that comes out on top.
Yeah. I don't think for Detroit though they'd be too mad about that. As long again, if you keep it close, you know you're getting close with one of the highest teams that gives you confidence on
Yeah.
regionals. As you guys know, top 8 make it. So definitely a lot to play for. You only need to beat a certain amount of teams. You don't need to beat the high teams right now as long as you can make it to the dance. And I think this tournament is a huge telltale sign of where everybody's going to be. So
Right.
Kraken move on to week 2. And then final game of week 1, it'll be Madison A, North OC B, 2 of the Valorant Giants location wise, but one of them being their JV team. How much of a chance are you giving North OC in this game?
I think of all of those teams that are not in that upper crust of, you know, Valorant Gold, if a team is going to take this team down, it's going to be North OC. I mean, they, you would imagine have regular scrims against that Alpha team, and we know the Alpha team can do damage and compete with the Alpha Marvels. So um, I definitely think that if there is an upset potential at this stage in the game, it's going to be North OC. But Alpha Marvels have just proved over the last 2 or 3 seasons that they're just too good. So got to go with the Marvels in this one. Unfortunately, I'd
And I
love to see that upset.
and I think Madison's playing a little angry because they're still the reigning champions right now, I believe, right? Am I not?
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
the reigning champions. They've not lost and not won a championship at the end of a regular season tournament. They're probably playing a little angry seeing that they're a 3 seed. So a lot to play for Madison, and I think it shows a team to play for is going to be a team that maybe doesn't have as much on the line. So
Yep.
Madison, they do what they should do on paper. They're going to make week 2, and we then have quite a second weekend ahead. And just to clarify, I know chat is talking about, yes, it's North Orange County, I believe. Am I saying?
Yep.
Yeah, North Orange
Yeah.
County in California. All right, I know y'all are North. Yeah, North Ocean City. No. Um, Yeah, North Orange County in California. That's North OC. So now we get to semifinals. This is April 9th. I believe they're going to be played later in the day, but teams can figure out when they want to. We're going to stay in the bottom first, actually. Kraken, Madison. This is one I'm still kind of jumping back and forth with
Yeah,
because it is one that it could go either way depending on which team shows up for each side.
yeah, that's very true. I think this is kind of as close as you could get to having a finals pre-finals. I mean, this
Yeah.
is two of the three best teams facing off in the semifinals, um, which is unfortunate. Obviously, you'd like to see the best teams compete in the finals, but when you have 3 or 4 top teams, some of those teams are going to have to play before that grand final series. So it's a really great matchup to see. And like you said, it's a tough one. Both of these teams are so strong. But as far as I know, Madison has never lost to North OC. I think
Yeah.
they've had a lot of close games, and the Kraken have been right on their heels. Um, but until I see them take them down, I got to go with Madison once again. Mainly because I'm hoping for that repeat of last season's championship with the Wolverines versus the Marvels. That's what we're rooting for.
Yeah. I'm with you in that Madison I think wins, let's say, like 13-9. I'll say 13-9, 13-10. Um because they just beat North OC week 5 2 weeks ago. So they know how to beat them. We don't know the score on that because it got reported as a 1-0. So for whatever reason, it got reported as a 1-0. So instead of us knowing the score, we just know they won the map. But I do think Madison, they carry on. I don't think they're going to struggle too much to where they're not going to make it. I think they make the championship
Yeah.
game again. Madison Valorant championship pedigree continues. And then Valkyrie, not Valkyrie. Actually, it is the Valkyrie of Ackworth versus the
Mm-hmm.
Wolverines of Franklin. Um, Ackworth can be the pain in our side time and time and time again. Does it happen again?
I think this time Ackworth plays, a little too overconfident, having that win over the Wolverines during the regular season. And I think bouncing back in the semifinals match, they're going to see a lot of names that they don't recognize from their game earlier in the season, and a lot of names that perform differently than how they saw the Wolverines perform in that like round 3 game. So I think the Wolverines come out and just absolutely shock them. I think it's going to be a pretty strong win for the Wolverines, like 13-2.
Oh, a 13. That is a little bold. 13. Granted, you are the man that said 13-0 and they did it. So you never know. I'm with you. I think Wolverines is a revenge tour game. They want to avenge that loss earlier in the season. I think like wasn't Griff on like a fishing trip and we had Parker gone and it was a weird game. So I
It
think
was.
with
It
all
was.
5 of them hopefully there, I'll have to wait and see how that one goes. And then championship game. Is this gonna be a best of 1 or a best of 3? I think it's still a best of 1 for
I think so.
this. I think for
Yeah.
regionals they said it was gonna be potentially a best of 3 for championship game, which is awesome. I think by the
Right.
way, league, thank you. That's using God's praises on that. I think for championship games you need to up it by 1 for the best ofs.
Yeah.
But this is a game. Both teams know each other extremely well. There is the crossovers as both team has Overwatch players involved, so there's that. I can't wait to see who wins this game. I'll say Wolverines 13. Dependent. God, it's so map dependent in this series. That is my issue with this. I'm predicting it is so map dependent. As Madison clearly have their maps, we clearly have our maps. As one of their players, 13-8 is what Shogun's saying or Shogu's saying. I think I'm gonna say 13-5 Franklin.
It's a strong win.
It's a strong win, and I think because Franklin's playing mad as well. I think Madison is,
Yeah.
Franklin is. they want to get the win. So I think Franklin's gonna finally get the regular season championship they've been hunting for 3 seasons. They knock off the champs and they put themselves in a great spot for regionals.
Yeah, I agree. I think that season victory with the Wolverines had over Madison, I think probably was the hump that they needed, to get over that hump, so to speak. Um, so I think Wolverines come out as champions. I also think that close games tend to favor the Wolverines. Close
Yeah.
games, the guys are just so ridiculously clutch. Whether it's Shogu or Tokyo Sushi or any of the guys quad, they're all so clutch that if this game becomes a close game, like so many of their games do, and especially against a team like Madison, I think it will be close. I think that just gives the upper edge even more to the Wolverines. So I think Wolverines win. It is close, but we see some really clutch plays, maybe an ace or two from a couple of the Wolverines. And Wolverines win 13-9.
13-9. Okay, you get a little more conservative than me on that one. So that is our bracket for Valorant for these next 2 weeks. If you want to screenshot, if you want to clip it, do whatever you need. As we'll probably look back at these in a few weeks and either realize how much of a genius we are or how stupid we are. It's good. There's no in between, and I think especially for Rocket League and Overwatch, we will get to those in a second. We were just starting with Valorant. I do think it's be very fun to kind of see how that's gonna go. So now making our way the Rocket League bracket. Obviously,
Let's go.
this is your element, even though I think I've followed along pretty well this year, especially with all the casting. For before we even get to a certain game in particular, first impressions on the bracket as a whole.
Bracket as a whole, I think it worked out pretty well. I think giving the 4 teams or really 3 teams, who ended up with a bye, I think those were the 3 teams who clearly deserved that bye. I mean, during the regular season, there were 3 teams that kind of stood out as far as play goes. So giving them all that bye during the end of the season tournament, I think makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And it prevents what you really want to avoid, which is the really best teams in the league playing against the really worst teams in the league when we know that the parity between the top and the bottom is so extreme. So I think this does a really good job of narrowing the field a little bit so that those bottom tier teams don't have to, just get their faces bashed in by, Hanover and the Storm. So I think this worked out really, really well. So excited to see how some of these games play out and excited to go through it and make our picks.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And you will realize one thing. There is already one game that is done. Stealth did get a forfeit win from Draper already this week. So that is why they are already into second round. So, yes, we did not cheat the system. No, we've already got a forfeit win for them. So they're already on to round 2 with the Hanover Horde, Irvine Dragons, and, of course, the Franklin Storm. So, first round game, winner gets to play the Franklin Storm. That is a rough draw, to say the least. But it is Towson Triton and Madison B team. I believe both came from Group B.
Yep.
I'm leaning towards Towson, but I do think this is going to be a close game. I think Towson's had a pretty good grip of the Group B this season, and I think they're going to keep that train going at least and taking down Madison.
Right. I agree. I think Towson, record-wise, was the top of the B group. So they have that going for them. And I know Towson played Madison here in the last couple of weeks and took them down. It was kind of close, but I think Towson is just a better team. They have probably a couple of players who probably could play in the A group if they wanted to, or if they were paired with some quality teammates. So I think Towson comes out on top in this one. But really, when either team is going on to round 2 to face the Storm, are you really coming out on top?
You're not wrong. If I won my first game and I saw the Franklin Storm, I might just leave there.
Yeah.
That is going to be a rough game potentially. But Towson, we both have them winning first round. Probably gonna go by this one pretty quick. Macomb, Hanover Horde. I believe that's their B team. Am I correct on saying that?
Yeah.
It gets cut off.
B team. Yeah, B
Um,
team,
if this was the A
easy win.
team for Hanover, this could be a very different story because I think
Right.
that would be a very good game. The B team, though, I don't see them having a ton of luck. Macomb is probably wanting to improve their position. They go from one of the leaders in this league to, winning the championship 2 seasons ago. They are now having to do a play-in game because they did not get a top 3 seed. It is a reality check for them, and they're probably not going to take it lightly. So I see them moving on, playing the Franklin Stealth in the second round.
Yep. Yep. 100% agree that any of the B teams, I think, going up against any of the A teams this time around, the parity is just too great, honestly. So it could be Macomb, it could be any of these A teams. I think the A teams top the B teams every time. And especially if you're going to go up against Macomb, who's coming back after kind of a disappointing season,
Yeah,
honestly. I mean, if you put it objectively, 2-3, what a turn of events from what we've seen over the last couple of seasons, um,
yeah,
especially coming back after that Game 5 overtime loss to the Stealth. They are not going to be happy. They're going to be playing
no,
angry. They're going to be playing with some fury in that game. And honestly, I feel for that Horde B team because Macomb is not going to hold back.
no. Like they beat Falls Church during the season. They beat Madison A, but they lost to Hanover Irvine, I should say, 3-1 early in the season. They got swept by the Storm. And as you said last week, they lost Game 5 in overtime to the Franklin Stealth, and then they get that rematch later that day. That's what I think you and I might talk about at length about. But we'll take our time. We'll do exactly what we need to do. So Macomb wins. They move on to round two. This is the only game of an A group team versus a B group team I'm a little intrigued in, right? Because Franklin Samurai, they've had good moments this season. There's also been moments where you shake your head a little bit. You could say this, and then Madison A's had a really rough season. They have not had the season they've wanted to in that A group. They did not win a game. They were close with Falls Church, but they didn't get a win in the end. So, how do you see a little bit of a surging Samurai team versus a Madison team that it's struggling a little bit right now?
Yeah, I think this is the first upset of the series. I think Franklin Samurai, like you said, they are on that upswing. They have
Yeah,
played really, really solid over the last couple of weeks. And Madison Marvels have fallen from grace from that first season over a year ago during the summer season. So
yeah,
really just underperformed over the last couple of seasons. And I think losing that 2v3 to the Storm this past weekend has got to be a morale blow. So I think the Samurai pull this one off. I think they're absolutely surging. Evan's play has picked up significantly. Daniel's been playing really, really well, and Gray honestly is a top tier player in the league on that B Samurai team. Just because Franklin has so many talented players, it's tough to find a spot for him. So I think the Samurai are loaded right now, playing really, really well. Good team Rocket League, and I think they take down the Marvels. I really think it's maybe even like a 4-game series.
ooh, okay. And I'm with you. I see the upset because Samurai are like good vibes. Madison not so much. Like they've had a really rough season, and I think that's sadly for them going to continue. I think at this point you need to start looking ahead at regionals. Presents a clear slate. It is a clean slate. It is just you. You get 2 losses and you're out. Like that's it. There's no
Yep.
predetermining precursors. So I think Samurai they can get the upside here.
All
And
right.
then Falls Church, Irvine, Dragon Silver. Falls Church, they've looked competitive in some of these games, even though they are 1-4. And I think they'd be more than competitive, and they're going to earn their shot to play Hanover.
Yeah, I agree. Falls Church haven't gotten to play them any of our teams during the regular
Yeah,
season, um, but we have gotten to scrim with them quite a bit. Good friends with a lot of those Falls Church guys, and in scrims they look really, really good, really competitive against all of our teams. So I think kind of a dark horse team, honestly. Maybe not this year, but definitely a dark horse team to qualify for regionals and NAF and to do really, really well in those tournaments. So I think they easily take down any of these B teams.
Yeah, I agree. Dragons, they make it to round 2 and they put aside the Irvine Dragons. I suppose I can't put Dragons, can I? They are both the Dragons. So let me slide back in and put FC. Just realizing that I forgot Irvine is the Dragons. But looking ahead, Franklin Storm, Towson. I worry. I worry. How bad is this game gonna be? Because it's the Storm, and I know it's maybe from a weird spot from us because we work with them all the time, but they're playing right now like we've never seen them play, and that is a scary thing for anybody.
Yeah, yeah. The guys are grinding right now, playing a ton of Rocket League, um, and they look like you said just dangerous. So I feel
Yeah.
bad for really any team that has to be in their path on the way to yet another championship season, but especially bad for any of these like B teams or mid tier teams because it could be ugly. I mean, it's ugly against even some of these top tier teams, but if the Storm, take the brakes off, then I think it could be pretty ugly. I think we'll probably see one game out of them where we get some good practice in, we work on some nice plays, work on some of the strategies we've been working on, and then we see 2 games where we kind of don't show our hand fully and get the win and move on. So
Yeah.
I think 3-0 clean sweep, Storm, keep it moving.
Yeah. It's same thing here. Storm, you need to be on your A game if you're one of these top teams, and you need to be one of on game of your life vibes if you are not named Hanover or Irvine or Macomb. Or Stealth, I should say as well. You need to be on your SS game. So I just don't see it's happening for Towson, but it's very good practice for them, and I think it'd be a good VOD for them to look after the fact. Macomb, Stealth. Stealth just won in 5 games after an OT winner. Do you think they have it again? The Game 5 Kings, or is Macomb, do they squeak by?
I think so much of this game depends on the mentals from Macomb. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 2 ways to take a tough loss like that. The first way, obviously, is you come back stronger, you bounce back, you get back to grinding, you get back to practice, you work on your VOD reviews, you go through the stats, and you see where the shortfalls were. I think Macomb hopefully does that, and hopefully they do all they need to do to bounce back and get back in this game and be competitive. Or the flip side of that is, it just absolutely shoots your mentals.
Yeah.
Losing to a team that you've never lost to before, finishing with a losing record for the first time ever in the history of the Macomb Heroes as a team. I mean, it could be kind of like a death blow for them as a team. So it all depends on how they bounce back from that loss.
Yeah.
But I know how the Stealth responded to that victory, and they did not respond by getting comfortable and saying, "Oh, what a great season." They're back on the grind immediately.
Yeah.
The guys are grinding. They're practicing. They are reviewing that Macomb game because they know we dropped 2 games to them. I mean, it was, and it went to overtime, so it wasn't like a clean sweep for us. There's stuff to still improve on. So I think the Stealth have that mindset where they're going to come back and try to improve upon their performance, and I think they are successful. I think they beat Macomb once again, and we see an all Franklin upper bracket semifinals.
Dare I say another map 5? Dare I say another map 5 overtime? Like that would be.
Oh,
I know
I hope so.
I know your heart probably can't take it, but I think that'd just be a perfect way for that game to go.
Absolutely.
Because that game has truly become one of the best ongoing rivalries now. I don't know
Yep.
if it's as much Storm Heroes anymore as it is Stealth Heroes, because Stealth have really stepped it up, and that's going to be a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, the last 2 times they've played now, Game 5. I
Yeah.
think both Game 5 overtimes actually.
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, you're like that is the new up and coming rivalry going forward. I think so. High hopes for the Stealth. Hopefully, it ends in another Icy Fire demo, Spooky Yogurt, open net overtime goal.
You never know. You just never know with Rocket League nowadays. So now we go down bottom half of this second round. Irvine Dragons, Franklin Samurai. I I see this being the miracle run for Samurai ending. I think Irvine's just been too consistent, and Irvine's wanting a shot at the Storm, and I think they're gonna get one step closer to it.
Yeah, I agree. Samurai and False Church both potentially those dark horse teams that could step up and perform really, really well and surprise people in the tournament. Um, but Irvine Dragons, like you said, are just too talented, just too good, and I think they finish this one off and defeat uh, Samurai and move on to semifinals.
Yeah, I do too. And then Falls Church, Hanover. It's pretty similar tone. There we go. You were almost turning into Shrek for a little bit.
Yeah, I was getting green there for a second.
Yeah. I think Hanover wins this, and I think it's a 3-0.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's nothing against FC. It's just Hanover's had some great coaching this year. Hanover's had some fantastic coaching to where they've really improved. They've really improved their program, and I see it continuing. And they make, I think, their first ever semifinal
yeah.
appearance.
I believe so.
So first semifinal appearance for the Hanover Horde. They're gonna make it, and they get a date with Irvine, which that is a very interesting game. I think that could really be something. And we take a break. We come back. This first game we talk about probably not happening on April 9th. It's probably going to happen that Tuesday, if I had to guess.
Probably so.
But Storm, Stealth. I think the Storm win this game, but I think the Stealth, they give them a good. I think they scare them in game one at least a little bit when the Storm put their foot off the gas, and I don't think the Storm let them back in at that point.
Yeah, these two teams know each other so well, and honestly, to be two teams that are at the top of their leagues, you would think there'd be some sort of rivalry there, some bitterness between the teams. We see it with the Overwatch teams. We see it with some of the other teams, all across Franklin, all across the locations. But I think in Franklin, we have such a weird situation where the Stealth just see the Storm as the GOATs. I mean, they just see them as they're the top dogs. And I think they honestly, of course, they would like to beat them, but I don't think they'd be mad to get 3-0'd by the Storm. I mean, they show all the respect in the world to those guys, and they love every chance they get to compete against them. So I think Storm pull out again, another 3-0. Stealth score a couple of goals. Panwy, Spooky, Icy, make some nice plays, but yeah, Storm clean sweep once again and make their millionth championship game ever.
Yeah, I think. Well, they haven't not made one. I think. Actually, no, they lost. No, I think the one time they lost to Macomb was the only time they didn't win one, and that was a semifinal loss. And I still think they're a little mad about that. Zach, I don't know about you. Even though they avenged the loss a few times now, they're still not happy they dropped it. And I think that's a good mentality to have, especially when you're entering tournament play, where it's the first ever Rocket League regional. A lot of teams, everybody has their target set on the Storm. Like, let's not be frank. Everybody does.
Yep.
So I think for them to have their target on their own backs in a way is a little bit refreshing as well. It's like, yeah, we know we need to get better, so we will.
Yep, absolutely. They're just ridiculous. I mean, the amount of work and time and grind that those guys have for getting better at the game, and they just keep it up week to week. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen a team so committed to perfection. It's amazing to watch. So I think they make their fourth championship game or something like that.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah. So and we'll see who else we think makes it.
Yeah. Irvine Horde. They just played last week, which adds another wrinkle of complexity to this. Irvine did win 3-1. Again, we don't know the scores because it was put in as 1-0s the entire time. So unless they're 1-0s, which I supremely doubt, we don't know the score of each game. I think Irvine's hungry and they're going to want the Storm. And I think Irvine have shown they're the second best team in the league. And I think
Yeah,
they get it done. I think it's 3-1 again. But I think Irvine, they make it and they play the Franklin Storm in that championship game.
yeah. This is one where really either team, I think the Storm would be really eager to see. I think they're kind of at that point where they've played Macomb enough times and 3-0'd them enough times since
Yeah.
that fall season that it really doesn't make a difference anymore. But I think between Irvine and the Horde, they're both eager to see both of them. But yeah, just as far as the skill level goes, the ranking goes, Irvine just too good to stand up. So Irvine makes their championship run again and faces the Storm in that championship.
Yeah, the Franklin Storm, they make the championship game again. And it is obviously still a best of 5. I think it's still going to feel like a best of, it's going to only be 3 maps, though. I think Storm in game 1, I think it'll be contested. But I think once the Storm get comfortable, the Storm, they can take it from there. 3-0 Storm. They will win another regular season title and solidify themselves as the number 1 team heading into regionals and heading in looking ahead to NAF, I should say. There's Zach. He's back. I have a feeling you are going to agree with what I just said. Is that a Storm 3-0, but a close game 1? I think that's about what I said.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the unfortunate thing playing online with any of these West Coast teams is we're going to have to switch servers a couple of times.
Yep.
Um, so playing on 70, 80, 90 ping for the Storm is not great. But like you said, they're just so good. They're just so good. It's ridiculous. And I think they dropped a game to Irvine when we played during the regular season, and you know how much those guys want to chase perfection. I think they don't let that happen again. I think they keep their foot on the gas. 3-0, clean sweep, and another season title under their belt.
Another season title for the Storm. It's almost a dynasty going, right? Like it's kind of crazy how dominant they've been and how reminiscent of that they are of another XP League team, but even to the nth degree, I think even beyond what the Horde have been able to do. So Hanover Horde, they enter the number 1 seed yet again. Did not drop a series this season. I believe Shogun entering the 2, Nomads entering as the 3, and Macomb entering as the 4 seeds. They all get a first round bye. And, you look at this first game, Hanover's kind of looking at this like, you got to be kidding me, right? Like, you got the Hanover B team. They play Cupertino, who's been playing better. And I think Cupertino's really improved this season. I know the record doesn't show it as much as they probably would have wanted to, but they still improved a ton. I don't know if it's enough to beat the Horde B team. I think it's 2-1, but I think Horde B, they still clutch it out.
Yeah, I agree. Like we talked about with Franklin being, Rocket League USA, North OC being Valorant City USA, Hanover still right now have that, Overwatch City USA and XP League. I mean, they are the location for all things Overwatch. And while, like you said, Cupertino has been on the rise over the course of this season, Hanover just has that infrastructure, that coaching, that high level of competition, and I'm sure screaming against that really talented A team. That I think Hanover pulls it out, and they face a very unfortunate round 2 game, but they're able to take down Cupertino in this first round.
Yeah. And I think Cupertino, again, credit to them. They beat Madison, and they almost beat Madison. They got reverse swept by Madison. But they looked better. They have definitely looked better as of recent, so I'm curious to see what Cupertino can do in regionals, depending on who they line up with. Next game, I don't see this one being too competitive, sadly. Triangle Samurai have had a rough season. They enter in as the bottom seed. Franklin Valkyrie, they were tied first, and then 2 straight losses to the Hanover Horde and Shogun, respectively. They drop all the way down to a 5 seed. I think they start a miniature revenge tour. I don't know if that's the way you want to say it. I think they get the job done, though. and they play Macomb later that day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really, really talented team of guys on that Franklin Valkyrie team that I don't think they let anything slip against some of this lower tier competition. Obviously, we've seen them play against Horde and Shogun, and they're not quite there yet. But they've played really, really cleanly against this mid tier and lower tier team. So I think they continue that streak and take down Triangle Samurai clean sweep.
Yeah, clean sweep 2-0. I don't see it any other way. So they're going to slide on in. We'll get both of those teams. Ooh, they're a little big. There we go. So now we go bottom half of the bracket. Falls Church, Madison. And it's weird to say Madison is a 7 seed. That's not something we are used to saying when it comes to Overwatch. And yet here we are, Zach.
Yep. Yeah, they have been almost consistently over the course of the last 2 years nearly that 2 or 3 seed right there with Hanover and the Shogun and Nomads at one point. But really, really tough competition in Overwatch Gold this time around. I mean, we've seen it with the Valkyrie. We've seen it with the Nomads who and Shogun who have both, changed up rosters and are both super competitive. We've seen the Macomb Knights, Cupertino, all these teams kind of knock each other around a little bit so that this upper tier, right below Hanover, has beat themselves up quite a bit. And unfortunately for Madison, that ended up with them falling to that 7th seed. Maybe fortunately for them, getting those mid-tier seeds, you get a slightly easier first game than you would if you fell all the way to those lower seeds. But yeah, I think they pull this one out. They still are an incredible team. We know that. Just an unfortunate seeding, but I think they take down the FC Wolves and make it to that round 2 game.
Yeah, I do too. Falls Church, I think it stops here. I sadly believe for the Wolves as Madison, they have the pedigree to at least make it into that second round. And I see it's getting asked in chat. Macomb Knights, they won the tiebreaker. I believe map differential potentially is. I don't know if I ever got confirmation on that, but I think it's map differential.
I think yeah, map differential or game differential. So if you win like 3-1 or 2-1, you get less points than if you had won 2-0, essentially.
Yeah. And I think it's because at least Macomb, I don't know. There's loads of tiebreakers we do not have access to. League spot put Macomb at 4, Valk at 5, and lucky for us, it doesn't impact it too much. As they're both going to play each other in second round anyway, so we'll get to see right there and there how it goes. So final round of round 1: Triangle Wolves, Franklin Knights. And Franklin Knights is the other team in the league that has not won a game this season. They were extremely close the other day. I believe it was against Cupertino. They just couldn't get over the hump. And I, as a Franklin coach, sadly don't know if this is the game they do it either.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst draw you could get as a Knights fan or player. Not having to play, a 1, 2, 3 seed. So it's not like outside the realm of possibility that the Franklin Knights win this game. But I think at this point, just a little too young, a little too inexperienced, and the talent just isn't quite there yet to be able to compete with a lot of these really, really solid and experienced teams. A lot of them who had been to NAF, who played really well at NAF, who performed on stage at NAF. So I think that experience just comes in once again, and the Triangle pulls out this win over the Knights, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think for the Knights, it's going to end there for Franklin Knights. But I think they've learned a lot this season. I think they can take it to regionals, as they're going to be one of those bubble teams that are going to try and fight their way in for one of those lower seeds just to make it. And I think, again, depending on the draw, it definitely could happen. But again, we just got to wait and see how many teams sign up for regionals and how the bracket ends up. So second round now. Hanover Horde A, Hanover Horde B. I'm not going to bet against Hanover Horde A, especially against their O and B team location.
Yeah.
It's just not something I'm gonna do. I'm not sure about you, but I got Hanover Horde, a team making it the second weekend.
Yeah, you got to go with Hanover Horde, and until they honestly are beaten by any other team in the league, I don't know how you can pick against them. It's like the Storm. Until they get knocked off, there's no reason to not predict that the Horde A team is going to win. I
Yeah.
know we have a couple of Hanover guys in the chat, so let us know down there, guys. Does the B team have a chance? Do the former heroes have a chance against the Hanover Horde?
Yeah, you never know. The more intriguing game of this side of the bracket is Valkyrie Macomb Knights, where Valkyrie beat Macomb Knights earlier this season. Um, but head to head is not a tiebreaker, I believe League Spot uses, so that's how Macomb landed fourth. I know I got brought up again, so I'll just say that I don't believe head to head is a tiebreaker they use. So they get the rematch. Do you think Macomb changes their fortunes, or do you think Valkyrie they repeat the result from earlier in the season?
I think they repeat it again. I think
Yeah.
there's just too much skill. We know the Valkyrie are kind of an older team, so they've been around. They've played a ton of XP League games, and I think that experience just comes into play in this game. Even though we know the Macomb Knights have also been there at NAF, they've played on that big stage. I think the Valkyrie, between the six of them, just too much experience, too much talent, and they take down Macomb.
Yeah. I think as well. Valkyrie, they move on. Semifinals against the Horde A team, which they want some revenge from a few weeks ago because it was just week 5 that they lost to this Hanover Horde A team. So definitely something they are looking at, and I know they've been looking at for a bit. So can't wait to see how that one goes. Now Shogun Madison, the rematch, the fall championship, I believe this was. Madison
I think so,
looking
yeah.
a little bit weaker than back then, and Shogun look a little bit different from back then. I still have the Shogun. Again, they're like the Horde A team to where against most teams, unless something crazy happens, I just can't not take them.
Yeah, I agree. Shogun, they're kind of right there with the Horde, right a step behind them and a step behind the Storm,
Yeah.
and how dominant they've been over the course of the last 12 months in XP League. So until they get upset by anyone other than Hanover Horde A team, you gotta pick the Shogun.
Yeah. Shogun, semis. Write it in now. At least for me, you write it in now because I don't see them losing that game. An interesting game,
Yeah.
Triangle and Nomads. Nomads have looked better. They've really started to build their confidence a bit. Their communication's been getting a lot better. And I don't know if Triangle's going to have the answer to the DPS line of Jackson and Landon just because they've been playing out of their minds, especially as of recent.
Yep. I agree, especially coming off of that win, that pretty dominant win actually over the Madison Marvels. I
Yeah.
think Franklin Nomads are riding really, really high right now, really, really confident in their abilities. The team chem is looks fantastic. So yeah, I think Franklin Nomads pull it out once again and make it to the Final Four semifinals.
Yeah. So, an interesting Final Four for that second weekend as it is 3 Franklin teams and 1 Hanover team. It seems, very reminiscent of previous tournaments.
Yeah, and crazy to think that over the course of a year, I mean, a year has passed. Three of these four teams are the teams that were the Final Four at NAF 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much continuity, how solid these organizations are, how solid these teams are, how solid the coaching is. That three of the four teams are still here. They're still competing at the upper echelon of their league, um, with the exception of that Valkyrie. We have a kind of a new player in the game.
Yeah, the Valkyrie being that new player, but they have familiar faces. And, going to this Horde Valkyrie game, I'm starting. You run through the memories of that game through your head because I've watched that VOD a few times. And Valkyrie, they didn't play great. They played decent. Horde showed up, though. And when Horde shows up to play, you got to answer. And the Valkyrie just didn't, especially in map 2. I worry it's going to be the same thing this time around. I think Horde, again, I'm never going to bet against them until they give me a reason to. And for right now, they just haven't. So I have to go with Horde.
Yeah, agreed. I think we talked about the Valkyrie, how many hours they've had in XPL, how much experience they have, but perhaps the only team with more cumulative hours in XP League up to this point is the Hanover Horde. I mean, coming up on nearly 2 years now, competing at the highest level in XP League Overwatch Gold. I think it's just too much for the Valkyrie to handle, and Horde make another championship run.
Another championship game. Like, that is just crazy to think, right? Like, they're going to make another championship game in just so many years. That is ridiculous. And now you go Shogun Nomads, to where Nomads looking better. Shogun have really started playing better now that Demonage is back on this team, as well as Dario coming into this team on the second DPS slot to replace Elliot. I don't see it changing. I think Shogun in a close series, probably, closer than what some people realize. I think Shogun still win it, though. And
Yeah,
we get the rematch I think people have had on their bingo cards for a very long time.
yeah, I agree. I mean, like we said before, you got to pick the Shogun and Horde until they are knocked off by any other team. We haven't seen the Shogun lose to anyone but the Horde in a year now. However, like we talked about, the Nomads are on the upswing. They're picking up a lot of momentum, and this is a great time to be picking up momentum going into the couple of weeks and months before NAF, before regionals. So I think Nomads come out and shock Shogun map one, depending on what map that is, of course. But if it's a good map for the Nomads, I think they take map one, surprise the Shogun, and then Shogun come back and show them why they're the former runner-up for NAF 2021, and make once again another championship run potentially for the Shogun.
Yeah, I think, another Shogun Horde champion. This is what people, I think, from a lot of the outside attention, so from not Hanover or Franklin locations, that's the championship game you expect, right? That is the championship game you expect. They've been the top two for a very, very, very long time. And I think the Nomads are knocking on that door. I think the Valkyrie are knocking on that door. The question is, are they enough yet? I don't know if this is the time we're going to get that answer. I think regionals is when we might get that answer.
Right.
This Shogun Horde game, I'm still jumping back and forth because it's hard to bet against the Horde when they've been so good. The Shogun have been playing better. God, man.
It's tough.
It is tough. I'll let you go first. I need a second here.
I think, I mean, it really comes down to do you go with your heart or do you go with your head in these situations? Obviously, from a heart standpoint, as a Franklin Rocket League coach, you got to be pulling for the Franklin teams. Whether it's Valkyrie, Shogun, Nomads, those are going to be my three teams that I'm hoping with all my heart make and win this season tournament championship. But from a head point of view, from a head perspective, the Horde haven't lost a game in a year.
Yeah.
Maybe over a year. I mean,
they haven't lost since NAF.
Yeah. So, if I'm a betting man, you can't bet against a team that hasn't lost in that long. I mean, you don't want to be the one to predict that first loss. I think when they do lose, it's going to be a shock to everyone and a surprise for everyone. And I think this is probably not the game where that happens. Hopefully further down the line. Hopefully the upset comes, at regionals or NAF. But I think this one, the Horde pull it out. Just a really, really quality team. But I think the Shogun do perform a lot better than we have seen them play in the last couple of times the teams have played. The Shogun have had some roster changes, and I think that they're the strongest they've looked in quite a few months. So I think this is one of the closer battles that we've seen in a while, and hopefully the best preview of NAF 2022 that we can get.
Yeah, I think this is the strongest Shogun team we've maybe ever. And I think the strongest team we've seen since NAF.
Right. for sure.
And I think they're starting to get in that conversation with that NAF team. And obviously, being at a venue playing live, it changes how you can play. I think this is, though, the best team we've seen since. God, it's really hard to pick this game. I think for right now, I'm with you in that the Horde win, but I think it's 2-1. I think the Shogun do win a map, which they didn't earlier in the season. And I think every single map is close, and it makes me really want to see regionals, because I think that is when we're going to see each team at full strength. Because I don't think Shogun are at full strength quite yet, and I don't know if the Horde are at full strength right now. So I think regionals is going to be where we really see it, but I think Horde A win 2-1. I could see this. No matter what, I think it's a 2-1 game.
Yeah, for sure.
No matter what, it could go either way, but it's hard to bet against a team that's lost once in like 2.5 years. So I'm going to go Horde A 2-1. But Shogun have a very decent chance. Like I'm like 55-45%. I think is where I'm kind of sitting right now on where this goes. Like it is.
And honestly, I think if you're a Horde player, a Horde fan, or a Shogun player, or a Shogun fan, really, there's no real way to like lose this game in the long run. As far as your mentals go, obviously you want to win the championship. You want to be that team that wins, so you can have that those bragging rights. But in the long run, being the team that wins, you feel good about it. You feel like, okay, this is a team that can take down anyone else in the league. We're the best. Obviously, if you win the tournament championship, you think that you're the best.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, if you are that team that loses, what kind of fire does that put in the bellies of all of these players that lose this game? I mean, if you are going to pull out this, first upset in over a year, do you want it to be in this end of season tournament, or do you want it to come, on June 26th on the stage in Orlando? So I think if you're the losing team, there's definitely nothing sad about that. There's so much you can take away from it. And honestly, if I'm in this game, I'm totally fine being the losing team, knowing that the real upset is potentially around the corner. So
you're
best to lose now and peak later.
More than likely going to get another swing at this team in a few weeks, right?
Exactly.
Like you're more than likely going to get another swing at either side of the coin. You're going to get another swing at them soon, and that swing is going to hurt a lot more than this one. Like this one's all great. We love these end of season tournaments. It does not have as much weight as regionals. Regionals has a lot of weight for NAF and seeding, and also you just got to make it. Like you got to get the job done and make it. So yeah, 55% chance I think Horde win. I think 45% chance Shogun win. It is going to be one either in the map selection in bands of this series or the mentals. Those are the two factors, because I think skill wise both teams are there. Like both teams, I would say, are pretty even.
Yeah.
It just depends on who performs on the day. Anything else you got to say before we head out? I know we're gonna try and figure out what we're gonna do next week, but other than that, anything else you got to say?
I think that's pretty much it. Really, really fun covering a lot of games, a lot of predictions in this. For all you guys who are following in chat and everything, who are watching this back, be sure to head over to YouTube to check out the VODs of all of these clips of all these streams that we're putting on. So go back on YouTube and follow us there and like those videos there, so we can keep making more.
Yeah, I'll put it in chat quick. I think because I'm stream owner, it'll let me actually post a link. So give me 1 second, chat. But yeah, I cannot wait for this tournament. I know for Rocket League, we'll have to wait and see how many games are actually, on that Saturday, because I'm gonna embarrass. I don't. This is an embarrassing thing, but Mr. Zach is getting married on April 9th, so
Thank you.
Huge congratulations. So he obviously will not be coaching that day. So keep an eye out for those games. There, I just put the YouTube channel in chat. You can see not all of our previous episodes, but a lot of them are over there. The profiles are on there. This will go on there later today, I believe, or tomorrow at some point in the next few days. But yeah, thanks you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys very soon with another episode of Ready Up.